guys, so this is the album we're going to be making. It is made with chipboard, and it's measuring in at 6 3/4 by 9, okay, and it has a 1.5 inch spine, and it's just a really simple, quick little album for you to make. It holds a lot of pictures, so I'm just going to do a quick little walk through here. So we did this section sort of accordion style that holds a lot of photos, and then this opens up. We have this entire pocket section, lots of space to slide pictures in. Close this up. Then over here to the right, this opens a few ways. So we've got 2 pockets here, room for photos. And then we've got 2 kind of interactive sections in the center. And then we can open the other way. And we have a pocket page here. Lots of room for photos again. And then a waterfall in the back. So let's get started on making this quick little project. Okay guys, so let's take a look at what we're going to use for this project. I am making an album for some kittens that we are fostering. Yes, I've lost my mind and I agreed that we would foster some kittens. They're super cute and super crazy rambunctious. But I found this paper called Pretty Kitty from the Paper Boutique, and it is really cute. So I thought this is perfect for what I want to do, make a little album for these kittens. So that's the paper I'm going to be using. Just now some basics. So for the outside of the album, I'm always using a lighter cardstock. So I'm going to cover the outside of the album with this 65-pound cardstock. I just get this from Michael's. I'm not sure what part of the country you're in or what country even you're in if you have a Michael's. But if you do, I'm using this particular brand, their home brand, I guess. And it is 65-pound cardstock for the cover. Because I'm covering chipboard, I need something that's really bendy, and that's what this is. For the inside of the album, I'm going to switch to a heavier cardstock. So I'm going to be using this. It's 110-pound cardstock, okay? Other basics you need to know, I will use art glitter glue. So this dries clear. This is my favorite glue. I usually just transfer it to these little bottles. So that's what you'll see me using. And we're going to use some double-sided tape throughout the project as well. Of course, you need your paper trimmer, and a scoreboard. And that's it. You'll be set to go. So let's get started. Okay, one more thing actually I forgot to mention is you will need some chipboard pieces. They don't have to match in color. They just need to match in thickness. These are all pieces I've saved from when I get shipments and deliveries of paper. So you can see that it's kind of a mishmash. And so whatever you've got on hand would be awesome. You just need something a little bit thicker. So grab some of that too. Okay, so let's get started with cutting our chipboard. So what you're going to need to do is cut 2 pieces at 9 by 6.5 and 1 piece at 9 by 1.5. Okay, so I am using my guillotine because the paper is thick, but I have also used my regular paper trimmer before, and it's been just fine. So let's go ahead and measure this out. So 9 inches this way by 6.5. Okay, and you're going to do 2 of these. There's 1. And 2. Of course, you can modify the size of your album if you like, but then you'll have to adjust all the other measurements. Okay, and then I'm just going to cut my 1.5 inch piece here. Okay, so those are 3 pieces for our backing, for our spine rather. Just going to get this guy out of the way. And now we're going to put them together. So what I want you to do is grab your lightweight cardstock, okay, for this part. And remember, this is because I want it to bend easily around the chipboard. So I'm going to glue 2 pieces together, which I think is going to be enough. Oh, let's just check and lay it out. Yep, that should be enough. I normally think like I do about a 1 inch around, but you know, up to half an inch up to 1 inch is quite enough. You're gonna cover this all up, so it'll be fine the way it is. So get your 2 pieces. These are both 8.5 by 11 sheets. Okay, so first thing I do is stick them together, and I'm just going to use glue to glue them together. Remember, like this seam will be on the spine, and you're going to end up covering it up anyways with your patterned paper. So I'm just going to line it up. I just like to flip it over so I can see that I've got it nicely lined up there, nice and straight. Okay, sometimes I just grab my ruler on the edge just to make sure that it's nice and even. Looks good. Okay, that is that. Now get your pieces of cardstock and, what did I say? Not cardstock, whatever that's called, chipboard. And just kind of eyeball lay this out so that the seam is in the center of the spine, and then your side cover pieces you're going to put right next to that. And then, you know, you can shift it around to center, whatever you like. So looks like I'm gonna place it like this. So I like to line these up first, and then I'll pick one up at a time and glue them down. So what I've got in between here is like a 1/8 of an inch space between the 2 pieces of chipboard, okay? 1/4 is too much. So 1/8, it's about 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so let's glue this down first. So I'm gonna put a generous amount of glue on here. You can also use some double-sided tape if you like, but I like the glue. Okay, so just stick that down. I'm just eyeballing that it's even all around. Okay. And looks like, I mean, this is a little bit shorter than this. It doesn't matter. You're gonna cover it up. Okay. Okay, now we'll glue down the centerpiece. So just about 1/8 of an inch. Okay. There we go. Okay, so once you've got that stuck down, grab your scissors and cut off the corners. Now, don't go cutting them right to the edge of this chipboard because it'll end up showing. So you just want to cut it off and leave a little bit there. And the reason you're doing this is because you want the corners to be neat when you fold them in. So just removing excess paper from there, okay? And now we're going to just start to fold your paper up over the edge of the chipboard to kind of, whoops, that unstuck, but that's fine. That'll be fine. So just start to bend that over so that when we put our tape down, everything will stick nicely. And so now I'm going to use my double-sided tape here because it works really well. So there. So run your double-sided tape along each of these edges. So this is a bit of a different, usually I do folio style albums, so we don't make a cover out of chipboard, but I thought I'd try something a little different. I've made these before, I don't think I've done too many tutorials like this, but this is a fun little book. It's pretty quick and it's a nice little book to give as a gift or whatever. Keep it for yourself, sell it, whatever you like to do. Okay, so now I'm going to start folding these over. So because we spent some time kind of massaging the edges, they should fold over pretty nicely. Okay, and see my sides now are nicely covered because we didn't cut all the way in. Okay, so you should end up with this. Then just grab your bone folder and just sort of mark out the edges of the spine. Okay, and just fold that in a little bit. Okay, now we're going to cut a piece to cover the center part here. So I just grabbed my regular paper trimmer, and you're going to cut down a piece that measures 8 3/4 by 3. So 8 3/4 by 3. Okay, and you're going to stick that right here. Okay, so just center this onto here. Okay, then grab your bone folder and kind of find where the seam is. You can feel it with your bone folder and just go along that. This will just help the paper fold more nicely. And then fold up your album. Now, I want to show you something because you may be, I don't think the camera is going to pick it up. You can see this glue, you can see the glue line because the paper's thin. Don't worry about it at all because you're going to cover all of this, okay? But anyways, that's that part. Now let's finish off the base and cover up all of this chipboard because I don't like to see that. So I'm going to cut 2 pieces at the same time because it's pretty thin paper. So I want you to cut 2 pieces that are 8 3/4 by 6 1/4. So, and save all your scraps because they will come in handy later. Okay, so there's my 2 pieces that are 8 3/4 by 6 1/4. And we're just going to lay those down here and cover all of that up. So it's nice, we've got a nice neat base. Start decorating our album. So next we're going to start making some of the other pages, and there's a couple of interactive elements here as you would have seen in the intro. Okay. So see, it's so easy to make a chipboard, spine, and cover. Really, really easy. And there's lots of different binding systems. I think I might have one other album on here where I did an accordion. We're not going to do that with this album. It's a bit of a more simple album, but there's lots of different things you can do. But in this first kind of 10 minutes of video, you just learned how to make an album base super quick and easy. Okay? Okay, so now let's work on what's going to be attached to this left flap. Or left cover. So you're going to grab, you can use your heavier cardstock or you can use the same weight. It doesn't matter. It depends really on the thickness of the paper you're decorating with. When I use paper like Cartabella, I don't mind using a lighter weight inside, but this paper is pretty thin. It doesn't really say the weight. It says 150 GSM, which I don't think is a North American standard, at least not in Canada. So I don't know what that translates to. But anyway, I can tell you it's quite lightweight paper. So I'm switching to my heavier paper now for the inside of the album. So let's work on this next flap. So this is going to measure 9 by 6 3/4. Okay, so let's go ahead and measure that out. So 9 by 6 3/4, okay? And now you're going to score that in 2 places. So it's going to be attached like this. So you're going to score that at 1/2 inch and then at 3/4 inch. So I have a scoring blade, I don't know what it's called, on here on my paper trimmer. So I'm just going to use that. So 1/2 and then at 3/4, because from the 1/2 piece, that's going to be what we attach, how we attach it to the side. And then I want it to have a little bit of space because I'm going to put some elements inside there. Okay, so just fold that back. And you can just use your bone folder for that. And here you can use glue or tape. I'm going to go ahead and use my double-sided tape here. And just, I'm going to, so let's just see here what we're doing. So I'm going to attach it like this. So I'm putting tape on the outside of the fold. There we go. You can just press it down with your bone folder. And now, so one of the things I do is I'm not going to pull it all off. I'm just going to pull off a corner, right? And I'm going to line up to this top corner first. I'm going to line everything up because I don't want this to go crooked. If I have the whole thing sort of unstuck, I will be committed. So I'm just pushing down, holding the top corner, and then as I make sure everything's lined up, I can just pull this strip out like that. Okay, so that's what you should end up with now. Okay, so I'm going to now make the accordion piece that comes out from the front cover. So you're going to cut, excuse me, 3 pieces that measure 9 by 4 1/4. So that's perfect. I'm going to cut my 9 first, this way. Oh, looks like my blade has popped out. There we go. So there's my 9, and then I'm just going to flip it and cut it 4 1/4, and this is an 8 1/2 sheet, so that gives me my first 2 pieces. Okay, and one more. To 4 1/4. By 9. Okay, and now for all 3 of these, you're going to score them at 4 1/4 and 8 1/2. Okay, so 4 1/4 and 8 1/2. And so you should end up with this kind of 1/2 inch, we'll call it a spine, to attach the pieces together. So fold it up. Okay, and let's just do the same thing on these 2. So again, you're scoring at 4 1/4 and 8 1/2. And one more. I have to say, I don't mind, like, this is great when I go on crops that I only have to bring 1 tool. And it's great for videos, so I don't switch back and forth between tools and waste time doing administrative tasks for you guys to watch. But I really do prefer a regular scoreboard. So if anybody's wondering, I mean, this is awesome for, you know, like I said, going off to a crop or making up these videos, but it really doesn't score. If you're on thicker paper, it's not as good of a score. Okay, so we'll just fold this back. I'm looking at my hands in the video, and I can't believe how tanned I am already. So it's June here. It's June right now, and here where I live in Canada. It's been pretty warm, and my hands have gotten completely tanned from driving the car. Like, this is, anyway, so of course I'm sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, like, I really should be wearing some sunscreen. But, so really, and my legs are really pale. So not ideal situation, I think, but anyway, wear your sunscreen, I think is my point. Okay, so I want to make this into an accordion file, right? So I'm just kind of figuring this out. So I want, eventually, it's just going to open up like this accordion thingy. So take your first piece, okay, and I've got my 1/2 inch side on the bottom like that. And I'm going to take the next piece and I'm going to put tape, well, I'm going to put it on the inside. You guys see that? I'm going to put it on the inside of the fold. Don't put the tape on your score line because, yeah, you'll have problems getting it to sit nicely and bend nicely. So you don't want to do that. Okay, so then I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to attach it here like that. So I'm starting to build out my accordion. So same thing as before. I'm not going to pull out, I'm not going to undo the entire lining of the tape. I'm just going to fold a piece back like that. And I'm going to line it up here, right? So I want to see my score line. Okay, always make sure you can see your score line so that there's space for this to actually fold up. And just pull that out and fold that back. So there's one piece of my accordion, and then this will go on top. I'm just trying to think about how I want it to open. I want it to open this way. Is it the same thing? Okay, I want it to open this way. So I want my flap this way. So I'm actually going to fold this. Actually, sorry guys, it doesn't matter. You're gonna have to do it this way. Just ignore me, I figured it out. We're gonna do the same thing as before. So get your score tape and put it on the inside of the fold. Like this. Just pick that up, fold it back, and I'm going to line it up. So see, let me hold this up. You can see my score line right at the edge, okay? I'm not covering that up. So let's just make sure it's lined up and then pull our tape through. Easy. And so there we go. We have made an accordion. Lots of room for pictures. Okay, so now we're going to stick our accordion file down, we'll call it. And I'm not going to go right up until this edge. I don't know if I said that I was, but oh my gosh, be careful. That's okay, we're going to cover that up later. But first of all, let's get some double-sided tape on the outside edge of this. And my tape, I need to go find my other width, but this one's a little bit skinny and the other one's a little bit too wide. So what I'm going to do is just improvise and put just a kind of a long line of glue here as well. Okay, so let's fold this back. Oh, why is it? Sometimes you just gotta be a little bit more rough with it, I guess. Anyway, push it down harder, making sure that your backing is coming off. Okay, so I'm gonna, like before, I'm gonna fold this over and I'm gonna hold this out of the way, and I'm going to eyeball where I'm gonna put this somewhere along the seam of the page of the paper we covered with. Maybe a better way to describe this to you is how far from the edge of the spine. So here is my score line, and this is the spine, and I'm going to go in a 1/4 of an inch away from that. Okay, so I'm at a 1/4 of an inch in, and I'll line it up. Looks good, and just stick that down. Okay, so then this should fold in here, and that will sit on top, and the whole thing will still fold up very nicely. Okay. Okay, so that's this piece. And we can talk about how to keep this closed later on. But for now, let's just ignore that, forget about that for now. And let's move on to the next piece. I'm going to be making the inside flap on the left cover. So we're going to continue working here on the left cover. We need to get this out of the way. And we're going to have pockets here. So we're going to work on the pockets that we're going to stick here. And I'm going to make 4 pockets on this. And so this is pretty easy. I think I've got 1 scrap I can use. You're going to cut 4 pieces that are 7 1/4 by 3 1/2. So that is 3 1/2. So 7 1/4 by 3 1/2. 4 of them. Okay. So there's my 1. If you want to switch to like a lighter cardstock for this, you can. There's pockets. You're going to cover them. Anyway, I'm going on. This is totally your choice. But I find sometimes for pockets, I don't need a stick. Because I'm just really sliding 1 or 2 cards in and out of them. But I'm going to make 4 of these pieces, 7 1/4 by 3 1/2. So let's cut down to 7 1/4. There's my second piece. My third piece. And my 4th piece. So I could get 3 out of 1 sheet here. And then you're going to score these on 3 sides at 1/2 inch. So on the 2 short sides and the long side. So we'll go ahead and score those at 1/2 inch on those 3 sides. So I'm going to do 1. We'll do 1 together. We are going to do all 4. So score around at 1/2 inch. On all the sides, and I want to cut the corners off. Remember, don't cut all the way to the cross mark, just slightly leave a bit of space like that. Can you see that? Okay, and that just makes her a nicer fold. Okay, so I'm going to fold the 4 corners over. Okay, so there's my first pocket, and we'll just use glue for this. So I'm going to set it aside. You can burnish the edges so that you get a nice fold and the corners are nice and neat. Okay. And so the other thing you can do is if you have a round punch, which I'm going to go look for, you can punch out a half circle here. So it looks like a little tab. Okay. So go pause here and do the other 3. So when you come back, you should have 4 of these ready to put into the back, put onto the cover. And if you like, a half circle punched out here. So here's my 4 pockets. They're all folded. And I'm going to start with the first one. So placement of the pocket before we go to the glue. You're going to place this pocket about 1 inch from the top edge. Okay. You need to start at the top with sticking them down. You can start lower. So what I recommend you to do is you can decide how low you want to go with, what are you putting in the pocket. The lower you go, the less spacing you'll have between the pockets. And that's totally fine, right? So I think I'm going to start here actually. So what I like to do is I just kind of line up the pockets how I want them to be. And sometimes I actually make some shorter and some longer, so they don't have to be symmetrical, but this time I am going to do them that way. So I'm just going to grab my pencil. And so I'm starting, let's measure. I am starting 2 inches from the top, okay? So I'm going to go and put a little mark here. So that's where my first pocket will sit. And then the way we're going to measure the other pockets is just sort of place them down how you'd like them to be. Okay. And the last one, you're going to go not quite to the bottom edge, right? You're going to leave about 1/4 of an inch from the bottom. Okay, so just line up your pockets how you want them to look after you've placed the first one. So I'm thinking this works for me. And then with your pencil, just go in and mark on the pocket above. So once you get them down, you know where you're going to put them. Okay, so I put little marks on those pockets. So I'm going to start with the first one. Where are you putting this is you're going to line it up to the inside edge of this folding piece. Okay, and then on the other side, you're going to leave just a little bit of clearance and kind of center it on the back page. Okay, so let's grab our glue now that we've discussed placement and just put some glue on all of these sides. Okay, and the nice thing with glue is there's also some wiggle room, so you can just, you know, I want to move that over a tiny bit. So I don't want it to go right against this card. I'm leaving a little bit of room there. Okay, so I've stuck that one down. So you can also mark it on both sides to make sure that you are putting it straight, right? So that's 2 inches from each corner. So there's my first little pocket, right? And I'll be able to put some cute little things, pictures in there. So second pocket, I've marked out with pencil where I'm lining it up to. And get my glue down. And just line that up. And I like the glue because I can just wiggle this around a little bit. So there's my pocket number 2 installation. Okay, and you can use this to kind of make sure it's nicely stuck down. And we'll put down the third one. I'm loving this album already. This is I haven't made one like this exact layout ever. So there's my third pocket. Everything's lined up left to right. And the last pocket. And the last pocket, just as a reminder, we are sticking it about 1/4 of an inch from the bottom. Maybe it's 1/8. But here, let me show you close up. You can see that there. Okay, so that's it. So those are our pockets on the inside done. So you can see why I wanted this little tiny spine here, because I need space inside. So I've got 4 pockets so far, this little waterfall that flaps over top. And now we can start working over on the right side of the book. So we're now going to work on the right side of the album. So I'm going to put this aside because we're making a whole new section over here. So we don't need to keep that out because we're going to build out that section and then we will stick it in when we're ready. We'll put the whole thing in together. So let me just get myself under control here. Okay, so for the right side, first thing we're going to do is make kind of an accordion section. And you're going to need 4 pieces that measure 8.5 by 7. Okay. Let's go ahead and cut those 4 pieces at 8.5 by 7. So this is already 8.5, so I'm cutting down to 7. Okay, and I'm going to do 1, and then you can do the rest because we don't need to watch me doing 4. So I'm cutting this down to 8.5 by 7, and I'm going to score this at 1/2 inch. And 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so I'm scoring. I'm keeping your short side, your 7-inch side. It will run along the edge of your scoreboard, and you'll score that along this long side. Okay, so there's 1. So what do I need you to do is make 3 more of these, and we will put them together after that. So just pause the video and make 3 more. So here are my 4 pieces all folded and ready to go. And I'm going to stick them all together accordion style, okay? So I'm going to take the top piece. Let's take the first two pieces. Okay, I'll set these to the side here. And I wanted to open this way in my book. So I'm going to take my glue and put it down on the outside of this flap like this. Or you could actually do it on the inside too. We'll do it on the inside on the next one just so you can see the difference. And then I'm going to just glue this to the edge of the second page. So I've got my fold on the opposite side, right? Because I'm making this accordion style. So I'm gonna fold this flat so I can see what I'm doing first. But of course I have that little 1/4 inch spine, right? So there we go. I've just stuck down the first one. So this is what it should look like, right? And now we're gonna take our next one and it'll go here. So let's do it the other way. And then you can decide. Now I'm putting glue on the inside of the flap. It doesn't really matter. I kind of like it this way on the inside actually because I feel like it's more secure for some reason. Okay, I'm just gonna fold that flat. Okay, so there's my next page is attached. Just right. And now for the final page, and it'll go like this, and then this will be what we attach to the back of the album. Okay, so I'm just gonna fold this open. And just line up papers. Again, remember, I know I keep repeating myself, but always make sure you can see your score line. Don't cover it up. Okay, so now we've made this cute little center section, waterfall section that will get stuck on the right-hand side. Okay, so there's a couple of things we're gonna add to this, and one of them is an interactive piece. So let's work on that next. Okay, so we're going to make the interactive pieces. So the first thing you need to do is cut up a flap. So you're going to cut up two pieces that measure 8.5 by 8.5 by 6. Okay, so this is already 8.5, so I'm just cutting it down to 6 inches. Okay, I'm using, you can see now I've gotten into some scraps, right? So it's a good idea to cut your scraps. So 8.5 again by 6. And then once you have that done, you're going to score along this side at 1/2 inch. Okay, so go ahead. Oh, guys, I just cut it. I think I've done this in almost every video. Okay, anyways, score at 1/2 inch. Don't cut it. Score. So we're making a flap like this. Okay. I'm just going to quickly cut down another one. You guys thought I was going to do it again, didn't you? Okay, so I've got my two flaps. Okay, now I need to cut my interactive pieces, and I'm going to need two pieces that measure 5 by 9. So I'm wondering if I have any of my scraps. Yep. So 5, oh, this is not going to work. No, sorry, 5 by 9. So I'm going to grab some new paper and measure it out. So there's one piece, 5 by 9. Second piece. There we go. Okay, now those are both done. You're going to score these in 3 places. You're going to score them at 1, 2, and 8 inches. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. And you're gonna put your long edge along the edge of your scoreboard. So 1 inch, right? 2 inches, 8 inches. So to do that, I'm going to fold that back. Okay, same thing on the second piece. 1, 2, and 8. Okay, and now comes the fun part. So bring back your accordion base that we just made, right? And decide where you want this interactive piece to be. So I think I want them to both be together, kind of side by side when I flip this open. So I'm flipping open, there's the first double page and here's the second. I'm going to put them here. So my flaps are going to go at the top. So you do need to attach your flaps first, okay? So let's just fold back all of these spines so that they're out of the way. And I'm going to use my glue. So I am putting my glue on the outside of the fold, like that. Okay, I'm just going to fold that back, and I'm going to align it up to the top of the page and just center it. All right, so there's the top flap, and then the other one will go right next to it on this page. So you'll see I've folded back along my score line, so I don't have to be bothered by this spine. Okay, right up to the top, center that out. Make sure you're not covering, because this has a little spine here too, right? Make sure you're not covering that up. Okay, so I have my 2 flaps, and now I can put in my interactive pieces, which will just kind of be sitting here. So this is what's going to be happening here. When you open the flap, this, let's see if I can get it to work. This is going to pop up and sit like this. And you'll have kind of this pocket which you can tuck photos in, etc. So let's do that. So first thing we're going to do is get your side where you only have 1 score line. So that's your 1-inch side, and put some glue down. Okay, and you're going to glue this. So you're going to get the edge of this and put it and glue it to the top, sorry, the bottom of this page at the fold, right? So okay, let me just show you close up where I put that. Okay, so you can see I've got my top flap here. It opens up, and I've just glued this onto the top flap. So it should look like this when you're done, okay? I'm not going to put any glue on this. I need to put my glue on this piece. But before I do that, I want to fold this whole piece. I want to fold at that second score line like this, okay? Because ultimately what I want to do is I'm going to put glue from the edge until the first score line. Keep that all folded back, and then proper placement is just fold your whole flap over and press down, and you should have it folded over like this. And then once you do that, you will get your interactive stuff happening the way you need it to. So let's do that. Let's put our glue down on the bottom here. So you're not putting any adhesive on this piece, okay? But you're going to fold it all back, lay it flat, and take the whole flap. And for proper positioning, this is the easiest way to do this. Fold the whole thing over. And just press it down for a second. Make sure you've got it properly stuck down. And then this is what should happen. So isn't that great? I love it. So you'll have this little kind of pop-up piece And like I said, you can tuck something behind there or you can leave it as is, but I just like kind of that look. So we can do the other one. Now that you've seen it once, you should be able to do the other side. So I'm just going to go pretty quickly, glue this piece down here, and then we can move on because we've got a couple more things to make before we can start decorating. So next, we're going to work on the pockets for this section. Okay, there we go. Very lovely. Yep, I like it. It's fun, just something a little different. You can fold it all the way back and push everything down just to make sure they're in the right position. Okay, but they fold up this way. Okay, I'm going to put a pocket over here, and we'll adjust all these little spines when we go to put this in the album. But I want to make a pocket or two. So let's go ahead and start that. So I'm just going to move this out of the way for a second and bring back my paper cutter. Okay, and you can do as many pockets as you like. So this is, it opens up here. So I'm going to put two here, and then I have this interactive section. You can also, if you like, put two more here. It's up to you if you want more pockets or less, but I think I'm going to go with two here in this sort of front fold over. So you're going to measure two pieces that are 7 by 4. These are going to be a bit of a deeper pocket. So 7, is it deeper? What did we do before? Maybe they're about the same. So 7 by 4. Oh, what am I doing? 4, yes, guys, not paying attention. 7 by 4. Okay. There's one, and I'm going into my scraps here. And 2, and you're going to score along 3 sides again at 1/2 inch. So along your 2 short sides and your 1 long side. That's 1. And of course, if you want to add other pockets, you can add kind of sideways pockets. Like there's different things you can do. And you know what? I think we're going to do that on one of the pages. But there's just, you know, with books like this, you can add whatever extras you like because there's lots of pages to do that with. So you can personalize this as much as you like. So I'm just going to cut the corners off like we do. Okay, and bring back, okay, actually, let me make a side pocket as well. So I'm improvising now, as you can see, and I'm going to do, so I said I was putting my 2 pockets here, I have my interactive thing happening here. When we open it this way, it's going to open again like this to the back, okay? I think I'm going to put a side pocket here. So easy. I'm just going to measure this. So this was 8.5. So I need a pocket that's 8.5 plus 2 1/2 inches to attach it. So you're going to measure 8.5, so a piece that's 9.5. So I don't know. And I don't want it to be too wide. Okay. So let's get out our cutter and cut down 9.5. And I just want it to be kind of a skinny pocket. So I think I want the actual pocket to be maybe 2 inches wide. Would that be enough? I think so. So 2 inches, because I'm going to tuck sort of some photo mats in there. So 2 inches wide. So I'm going to cut now at 2.5. Okay, so we're doing a 9.5 by 2.5. Okay, and now we're going to score on the 3 sides again, on the 2 short and the 1 long at 1/2 inch. Okay. And this is the last pocket we're making, I promise. We did a lot of pockets in this one. All we have left actually is a waterfall for the back. So, and then we'll be ready to decorate, which is the fun part. Oh, and I think no, I lied. We're going to have a belly band as well. Okay, so what did I say? This was going to go when we opened the book. So let's see, put it where you like, but this is where I'm putting it. So it's going to open this way, right? But my skinny side pocket will go into this piece here on the side. Okay, so I'm just going to fold back the edges. And if you have your nails done, they are like a very good bone folder too. Anyway, okay, I'm getting my glue. There we go. And now I'm just going to fold this flat again so I can see what I'm doing. But I'm lining it up to this score line here, okay? So staying away from the spine, obviously. But I just wanted to show you that. Where is this going? So there's our little side pocket. And I love it because that's just a bad example. But I'll be able to put different, whoops, getting excited. I'll be able to stick photo mats in here, cut down to proper size, of course, so you'll have more space for pictures. Okay, now I'll go back to what we were originally doing and put our two pockets here on this inside flap. So I've got these folded back. Just grab my glue. Okay, and I'm just going to center this down here on the page. And I'm going right to the bottom edge. Oh, there's one. Do you guys stand or sit when you're crafting? I was just standing and feel like I have more control when I'm standing. I don't know. Anyways, now I'm sitting. I needed a break. Okay, and then over here, put your pocket down again, right to the bottom edge and just kind of centered on the back of that page. What are you doing there? See, with the glue, I just realized it wasn't straight, so I just lifted it right up. And I have a little bit of time, not a ton, but I have a bit of time. And I'm just going to go over the edges with this to make sure they're nice and stuck down. Okay, so we are done what we want to do with this piece. And now I'm just going to gently fold along those score lines to make sure the spines are kind of standing, except for this last one because I'm going to keep it flat so I can stick it in. But you get the idea of what we're doing. So bring back your album and open up onto this right-hand side, and you're going to put tape or glue on this piece, and then you're going to stick it over to, not all the way to the edge, but you will stick it about 1/8 of an inch from the edge and just center it top and bottom. Okay, so we're going to stick this down to the edge of our book. And what you're going to do is, I just folded it so that I only have to deal with this. This is the part I'm gluing down, and then I have this little spine. So just folded it like that. And this will go right to the edge of the back of your album. Okay, so you can use tape or glue. I'm just going to go with the glue. Okay, and I'm just going to stick it down. I'm just lining up top to bottom. There's about less, I want to say 1/8 of an inch. But anyway, line this right up to the edge, like that. Just going to flip it open, make sure that's nice and stuck down. And now I can sort of straighten out my little spines. like so. So you've got that. All right. And so that's what we've got so far. Looks good. I'm going to make a belly band for here, and we're going to put a waterfall in the back, and then we're done. So let's turn our attention to the waterfall first. So set this aside. Now your waterfall is going to be whatever you like. I'm making it so that it will hold 4x6 pictures, which is pretty standard. And I'm going to put in about 5, I think. 1, yes. So we're going to make five cards. So let me just move this out over here. Bring back my paper cutter. So you're going to cut out 5 of these pieces that measure 4 3/4 by 6 1/4. Okay. So 4 3/4 here by 6 1/4, and you can go after your scraps for this. It's a good way to use your scraps. So there's 1, and I'm going to just do 1 with you, and then you can cut the other 4 because we're doing 5. I think you can actually fit more than 5, but we're going to do 5 for the video, and then you can decide if you want to add some more. So again, I've cut this at 4 3/4 by 6 1/4, and then I'm going to turn it so that my short edge is along my scoring board, and I'm going to score this at 1/2 inch. Okay. All right. And then we're just going to fold that back, and you're going to put tape on this edge here on the outside of the fold. Okay. That's 1. So go ahead and do 4 more. And when we come back, we'll put them in the album. Okay, so I've brought my book back so we can put in the waterfall. And I cut 8 because that's exactly how many will fill up the whole back of the page. So I'm working on the back album cover. This is where the waterfall is going to go. So let me show you how to put in the waterfall so that it's all nice and lined up and straight. So let's take the first one, and you can do 8 or you can make it shorter, but since I said you can fit more, I just wanted to show you how many could actually go in, and then it's up to you. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I just pulled back 1 corner, and I'm going to line this up, not all the way to the edge of the cover, but just where we covered it up with that white piece of paper on top. So I'm going to the edge of this piece of paper, and I'm going to center it on this back section. Okay, so the first piece is critical. And then after that, everything lines up to the first piece. Okay, so I've got my little corner folded back like I like to do. I'm going to line this up across the top. I want it to be straight, right? So that looks good. And I'm going to slowly pull the backing out. Tuck that little piece of tape back there. Okay, so that's my first piece of waterfall that's installed. From here on, every piece kind of follows. So next, you're going to take your next piece of waterfall and peel back the corner again. And now line this up to the bottom edge of the one you just put in. And before I do anything, I kind of close the top one over and make sure everything looks aligned. Okay, and that looks good. And we'll pull this out. There's 2. And I'll just do 2 more, and then I'll let you finish the rest. Install, whether you did 5 or 6 or 8, you're just going to follow this exact process. Always folding down the top ones, because sometimes even when it looks straight, it starts to get a little misaligned. So you want to just make sure. And once you get one misaligned, then the other ones kind of they go really off. Okay, so I just want to adjust this a little bit. There we go. So, I mean, yes, I wanted to get it as lined up as possible, but like, you know, if it's a tiny bit off, like you can't even tell that's fine. We're not building this for NASA or anything. It's paper. So, but I want them aligned as possible. So this is a great process to follow to make sure that everything's getting nice and lined up. Okay. Okay, so you can finish putting in the other flaps that you've made, and I'm going to start working on this belly band. So I was looking at this and I was thinking, how is it going to stay closed? It's a bit awkward. So I thought, oh, I can put it in here, but I don't love that. I could. We're going to see though. We're going to try and experiment. So I think I want to put in a belly band here. And I then will get a heavier piece of cardstock and slide it under the belly band, and it will hold this section down and then give me another place to put paper. So first we're going to cut a piece that measures 10 by 1 inch. So I've already cut that. So you go ahead and cut that piece at 10 by 1 inch. Okay. And then you're going to score this at, let me see. I have to figure out how to describe this to you. 1, 2, 3, 3/8 of an inch. Okay, you're going to score this at 3/8 of an inch. And there we go. And then you're going to slide it over another 1/8 of an inch, which basically now you're at 1/2 inch, and score again. Because I need this little smidgen of space here. So I need this tiny, tiny little spine that I've created, okay? Because my waterfall, my accordion is pretty thick, right? So I need some space. This card I slide under the belly band needs a little bit of space. So again, 3/8 of an inch. Three-eighths. Now I got to keep an eye because I'm doing funny things myself. 1, 2, 3. 3/8 of an inch. And then slide over to 1/2 an inch. Okay, so just fold that. It's hard to fold on this little, when you have these little skinny ones, but that's what you should end up with, okay? So let's bring our album back. And this is going to sit over here. And I'm going to use my tape. If I can find it. Things are getting out of control here, which means we should be finished this project soon. So I'm going to put my double-sided tape along the top and bottom. Okay. And I'll just gotta move this out of the way. I'm just going to pull that off of the top. Okay. And we'll fold this down. So I want to remember to keep my spine there. And I'm just going to put this back to make sure I'm happy with the position. But I want it to be about 1/4 of an inch from this edge. 1/4 to 1/2. So I'm lining it up at the top. Okay. And then line it up at the bottom. Okay, so you have this little this belly band. I know you're thinking, oh my gosh, we have to decorate that page. I was just thinking that too, but it's fine because your patterned paper can slide underneath here. So we're good. So this is my intent, right? I wanted to make something to hold this down. So now I'm going to cut a piece of cardstock and it's going to just slide under there. Okay. So remember our book is 9 inches tall. So I'm going to cut a piece that's 8 3/4. Okay, so this is going to be 8 3/4 by 6. And maybe you want to make, you can make more than one. but I'll show you one. And then you can fit probably a couple more in there. Okay, so 8 3/4 by 6. And it's going to fit in here. Just like that. And I think I will make a couple so that I can kind of take advantage of this space I made. I didn't make it flat because like if you stick it down flat, it's gonna, I don't know, it's gonna do something like this. So that's why I gave it a little space, but that means you can put more cards in there and they don't all have to be the same size, right? Like you can just put in all kinds of different things and then that's more space. And if there's a function of holding this down. If you don't love that, you can definitely tuck this underneath. That's another way, but some options for you. I'm going to stick with the belly band this time because that's a bit of a new thing for me. So let's take inventory of where we're at before we start decorating. So we've got our album completed. I've just added this belly band. We're going to put a bunch of cards in here, right? And that's going to hold down this waterfall. Okay. Then we are going to slide those out. We have the waterfall. I don't know why I keep calling it a waterfall. We have the accordion. Then we've got all these pockets in here. Then we turn over to this side and we've got one. So we've got 2 pockets, 2 interactive flaps. Then we open this way and we have a side pocket here and our waterfall in the back, which you all either finished. I'm going to add my other cards to it. And we can start to decorate the album. So I'll show you a bit of my decorating when we come back. Okay, so a couple of things I want to show you guys about decorating this album now that it's finished. First thing I'm going to show you is the cover. So I don't know what paper you're using, and you're probably not using exactly this paper, but I am going to show you a trick to save paper if you don't already know. So I'm using this polka dot gray cardstock as my base throughout the album with my patterned paper, and I am going to cover it obviously with this, and then I'm going to have another card kind of sitting on top. So I was thinking to myself, I hate to waste all this paper. So if you don't already do this, one of the things you can do is cut out the inside of this and save it as a mat for something else. So the way to do that is, you know, figure out how much space you need on your paper. So I need about a 1.5 inch frame all around so that I have enough room to actually also stick this down. So what I'm going to do is actually cut a square or rectangle inside that's 1.5 inches from each corner. So the way to do that, it's really, really easy, and you save a lot of paper this way. So I'm just going to get out my paper trimmer, and first thing I'm going to do is line this up at 1.5 inches, right? So I'm going to be cutting along here, but I also want to make sure that I'm cutting 1.5. I start cutting 1.5 inches up from the bottom, and I stop cutting 1.5 inches up from the top. So I'm going to position my blade at 1.5 inches on this side, and I'm at 1.5 inches this way. And this is a 9-inch piece of paper, so I'm going to stop at 7.5, which will leave me an inch at the top. Right? So I'm just going to go along and stop it right there at 7.5. And now I can turn my paper and do the exact same thing. Measure this out to 1.5. Then start cutting at 1.5. And in this case, this is 6.5 inches wide, or just a little over 6.25 actually, because it's matted so that the white shows. So I'm going to stop on this side at 5 inches. So I'm just going to make sure that gives me enough room, and it will. So I'm going to cut over to 5. Okay, and then I'm going to turn, and I'm just going to keep doing this on all 4 sides until I have the inside square cut out. And that will give me, that will let me use this as a mat for the background while kind of preserving as much paper as possible. I love to do this too when I'm doing 12 by 12 layouts on the background sheet. I always do this because I find you really can, if you use a lot of patterned paper, it's just a great way to save on the pattern. So now I have this, which I can use for something else, and I've got this frame, which this will sit very nicely and easily on top of. Okay, so I'm going to glue that down, and then I'm going to show you something else. So if you're decorating with me, know that I'm not going to decorate the whole book together, but I just want to show you a couple of tips and tricks as you decorate your own album with whatever papers, etc. Okay, so that's done, and that's going to be for my front cover. But I also want to put another card on top, and I want to give it some dimension. And usually I would use my foam dots or my foam stickies, and I would need quite a lot of them. And you know, I want it to be uniform. It's quite a big piece. So instead, what I do is, like I said, I save all pieces of chipboard that come my way. So I've cut this is a much thicker, pretty thick piece of chipboard, and I've cut it to size to fit the back of this card. And that will give it just a little bit of dimension, nothing too much, and very sturdy. So it's like very much, you know, not too high, but nice and sturdy and flat. So I'm going to put glue, since this piece is smaller, I'll put glue on this side versus on my patterned paper. Okay, and then we can just kind of center this on top. We just want to flip it over and take a look. All right, and it's nice, and it keeps it up nice and flat. And you can decide, like, do you like it centered? Do you want to put it kind of down to the side? I'm going to decide in a bit, but it's probably going to go in the center for me, or it might go up here, and I'll put a date in here. I'm making this album for some kittens that we're fostering, so I'll figure that out later. But I'm going to put the cover on so you can get an idea of what this starts to look like. With just kind of some little tips on decorating. So, you know, save all your chipboard, and you will find all these uses for it, like what I just showed you. And it just gives it a little bit of sort of dimension versus, you know, everything being flat. Okay, and you'll notice I'm using the glue, and that lets me adjust things and wiggle a little bit. And then once I decide where this is going to go, I'll just put it up to the top. So another thing I want to show you is something that I do when I want a continuous pattern. So these pockets, you'll recall, we put these pockets in, so there's 4 of them, and I use this piece to cover the front pocket, but then I only need to decorate this very small bit on the other pocket. So I've chosen this patterned paper, and I kind of want some continuity. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut from the same piece of paper all of the pieces I need to decorate this. And you'll see this, we're going to do this for the waterfall as well. So I'm just going to flip it over so my pencil marks don't make a mess. And I'm just going to mark out where I want to cut this. So they're all going to be the same width. So I'm going to cut there. Then for the next one, and I'm leaving a bit of a trim, like an 1/8 of an inch all around. So there's my next piece. I'm going to slide this up. Okay, so I'm going to cut out my 3 pieces here, and I'll show you what I mean. And you want to keep them in order because you're trying to keep a pattern going, right? So I'm just cutting off the pieces where I marked this paper. Oh, just move that over a second. There we go. Okay. And so now I want to place them in the right order. So I'm just going to cut these and set them aside in the order that I cut them. 1. And 2 and 3. Okay. So move this to the side. And so what I want is for the patterns to kind of continue. So this is the way the paper kind of goes. Got this pattern, and then this, you can see like my top of the bucket with the kittens, and there's their heads. So this is all kind of nice and continuous. So I'm going to go ahead and stick those down. And I see I also have a little bit here at the top that I want to cover up. You don't need to because you'll be tucking stuff in, but I always like to keep it kind of continuous. So I'm going to cut a piece for up here as well. Just mark it out. And again, I'm cutting from the same side of the paper, right? I'm gonna use this piece from the bottom so the pattern continues. So I know a lot of you probably already know this, and it's not brain surgery, but just something I thought I'd share in case you haven't thought of that before, and just a nice way to use that patterned paper on parts where you think it just isn't going to work, and you'd want to use a solid. You just kind of let the pattern sort of keep continuing. Okay, so you'll stick those down like that. Okay, one more thing I want to show you is how I'm going to do the waterfall. I'm going to cover up the waterfall. So I'm going to use this method where you use a pattern that you like and you want the whole thing to show. You're going to cover the first card with the full, you're going to cover the whole of the first card, and then each one of these, we're just going to cut a strip and cover up these pieces with just a little strip, and then two things are happening. You're going to see the entire pattern, which is great because this is really super cute. And then you'll have lots of room for photos. So let me just show you how I do that. So I'm just going to mark out where I want the top of this page to sit. And I'm going to just slice off the end because there's a little bit of glue stuck on it. Just give me a second here. There we go. That'd be nice and clean there. Okay, so I'm going to flip this over so I've got it on the, don't have to erase my pencil marks this way. So I'm just going to measure out where I want to cut this top page. So that's that. I'm going to cut this. And then you're going to be able to cut your subsequent pieces from here. But this is a great method if you like the pattern of the paper and you kind of want to preserve it. All right, so that's going to go right here on the card. And now I'm going to progressively cut strips from the rest of the sheet and just cover up this small little bit at the bottom. So I'm going to do the first one, and then you guys can do the rest, and I'll just show you how it looks when it's all put together. So that looks like about, I was gonna say 1/2 inch, but it's not. It's just over 1/4 of an inch. Like it's about somewhere between 1/2 and 1/4. But you're gonna cut these strips, and you're just gonna make sure that you line them up so that they're matching with the pattern above. And you're just gonna put each of them on these little, on this waterfall, okay? Okay, so I finished that up, and this is what it ends up looking like. So you can see how you can see the whole pattern when it's closed, and then when you open it up, you have room for so many pictures. So that is really, it's really great. Okay, so I'm gonna finish decorating the rest of the album, and then I will do a final walkthrough for you guys. Okay, so here's the final walkthrough. You'll see I left the back of this plain. I actually like this. This is a Simple Stories paper that comes in all different shades, but I like the little polka dot, so I left that alone. I put in some little sticky brads here, and like I showed you earlier, I popped up both this part and this little Just For You section just to give it a little bit of dimension. So, but other than that, it's a pretty simple cover. This just opens up very simply this way. And so over here on the left, we have a belly band, and this slides out, and it's holding down this section. Now you can decide to also set it up like this. It's really up to you what you like best. So multiple ways to do this, but I made a nice big card here to hold photos. Just put that back, and then I decorated, I put this strip down the bottom because these are 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 pages. And when I did this, this is basically a space that will hold a 3 by 4 photo. So I thought that's perfect because I do print 2 photos on a 4 by 6 piece of photo paper. So that will be nicely fitting 2 3 by 4s there. Okay. And then it opens the other way as well. And super cute. So in this section now, I've got my 4 pockets, and again, lots of space for photos. You can decorate the inside of this or just leave it blank, whatever you like, and so on. So I have a couple of photo mats up at the top. So these are 4x6 mats. And usually once the pictures are ready, I actually put them on this side. And then I've got kind of patterned on one side and the photo on the other. But for now, I'm just storing them in here like this. Okay, so we can close this up. Fold that over. Then I move over to the right-hand side. So this is our also another accordion piece. And so this flips open with the 2 pockets here. And these both open up to hold photos. This is actually a trifold. Oops, like that. Okay, and then it opens again. And this is the interactive section, so I love this. This is so cute. It's just a little bit more dimension and lots of room for photos up at the top. And like I said, you can always tuck some things inside this little piece, tuck different photos, etc., and just hold them down in there. But it's optional. It's more built for sort of this 3D look. Okay, then it opens now again this way, and here's room for 2 photos on this side. And then on over here, we've got a vertical pocket and just some photo mats. Again, to add some more photos. And this is a pretty generous pocket, so you can add even more to that. And then finally, this way, we've got our waterfall. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this is so cute, like with the little kittens. And you can see the whole sheet of paper, but then you have lots of room for photos underneath as we looked through. Okay, so that's basically it. This was a quick little album. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It means a lot to me. I do this content for free. And just because I enjoy doing it, it's something that I started during COVID, and I loved it so much. I'm going to keep doing it, even though now, thank goodness that COVID is over. So anyways, I wish you guys a wonderful day or evening or weekend whenever you're looking at this, and please leave me any comments down below. I read everything, and I love hearing from you. So thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.